Genuinely, domestic violence is no joke. Like, don't play around with stuff like that. Don't be let just men inside your house. Don't do it. If you see a red flag, go.
This is the story of Michelle Melendez, a 27-year-old mother to an 8-year-old who was in an abusive relationship. Her boyfriend was out on bail pending a long-delayed murder trial in Arkansas when he was arrested again, this time for assaulting Michelle and shooting into her apartment. He blamed Michelle for his arrest. He quickly posted bond after the assault and was released again. Days later, Michelle and her daughter would go missing. And the discovery of what happened to them would devastate their family and friends, and have many asking how a suspected murderer and domestic violence offender could be out on bond twice and the victim to his crime not be protected. Welcome to Viral Crimes. Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more stories. This story takes us to Vancouver, Washington. Vancouver is a city located in the southwestern part of the state of Washington, in Clark County. It is the fourth largest city in Washington, with a population of around 184,000 people. Vancouver is known for its beautiful scenery, with the Columbia River Gorge to the east and the Cascade Mountains to the north. Michelle Melendez was described by friends as always caring with a huge heart. She was a determined and courageous woman, as well as a devoted mother to her 8-year-old daughter Layla. As a little girl, Michelle was shy and soft-spoken with the cutest goofy giggle. As she grew up, so did her personality. She became more and more outgoing and became a confident woman. Her daughter was her entire world. There was nothing she wouldn't do for her. Layla was a beautiful little girl with big hazel eyes and a smile that could light up a room. She was described as a fearless little girl. She adored and loved her mom, and the two were very close. Michelle was in a relationship with 28-year-old Kirkland Warren. The two appeared to have a loving, fun relationship and posted numerous videos and pictures of them playing around together on social media. But the pictures and video didn't tell the complete story of this relationship. Michelle was suffering from domestic violence at the hands of Kirkland. On December 13, 2022, Kirkland and Michelle Melendez got into an argument at her Minnehaha area apartment. When Kirkland left the residence, Michelle stated that Kirkland was driving near the balcony window and shot at her as she looked at him outside. 10 days later, Michelle called 911 to report that Kirkland assaulted her, and she would also tell police about him shooting at her 10 days prior. She had also reported to authorities that Kirkland put his hands on her and choked her. Over a month later, on February 3, law enforcement would interview a friend of Michelle that was present at the time of the alleged shooting, and the friend would confirm that Kirkland did shoot at the apartment. 14 days later, on February 17, Michelle suddenly had a change of heart and decided to change her story. She met with investigators and recanted her earlier statement. She says she lied about the shooting and claims she and her friend have mental health and drug issues, and that is the reason they made up the story about Kirkland shooting at her. She also wanted investigators to assure her that Kirkland would not be arrested. Investigators did not believe she lied in her original statement and were suspicious of this sudden change of heart. On March 2, they arrested Kirkland for firing shots at Michelle's apartment. Between the series of alleged incidents, Kirkland made his initial appearance in the Clark County Superior Court, where he was held on suspicion of second-degree domestic violence assault, drive-by shooting, making a false statement, harassment, and possession of a stolen firearm. Prosecutors in Clark County claim that a risk assessment concluded that Kirkland represents an extreme risk to Michelle, with a score of 31 on a scale that ranges from 1 to 18. They were also aware of the ongoing murder investigation that Kirkland was a part of in Arkansas. They requested that Kirkland be held on a bond of $100,000. In addition to this, the court issued a domestic violence no-contact order for Michelle, but Kirkland would violate the no-contact order hours later by contacting Michelle twice from the Clark County Jail. On March 3, Kirkland was cited in the Clark County District Court for violating the domestic violence protective order when he called Michelle twice from jail. During the calls, Kirkland continuously blamed Michelle for his incarceration and suggests she isn't working hard enough in contacting lawyers, prosecutors and defense attorneys to get him out of jail. In the phone calls, Michelle said, "Just tell me what to do." Kirkland responded, "Bruh, I don't know, it's all on you. Are you going to get this expletive dropped?" Kirkland scolded Miche for handing police snapshots of threatening text messages that he had sent to her prior to allegedly shooting at her apartment building. Miche showed these messages to the police, and this made Kirkland extremely upset. "So my life is over," Kirkland said to Miche in one of the calls. He then said, "There is no way I'm going back to Arkansas." Arkansas is the state where Kirkland is currently facing a first-degree murder charge in the death of 57-year-old Curtis Urquhart, who was shot in the head and found in a ditch on December 11, 2017. Court documents show Kirkland admitted to shooting his passenger Curtis Urquhart in the head while they were in a car and dumping him in a ditch after the two were arguing over money. He claimed it was self-defense. Court records show he posted $250,000 bond in that case December 13, 2017, the day after his arrest. In the case he was facing with Miche, Kirkland entered a not guilty plea, made the required $10,000 bond, and was released from prison on March 8 without being required to wear an ankle monitor, despite the fact GPS monitoring is allowed and recommended in domestic violence cases like this one. Prosecutors did not ask for GPS monitoring, and the court did not mandate electronic monitoring either. Therefore, Miche would have no warning of the whereabouts of the man she put in jail for assaulting her. Police said Miche and Kirkland talked about ending their relationship, and Kirkland had threatened to kill Miche. At Kirkland's hearing, the prosecution said that a danger assessment concluded that Kirkland presents an extreme risk to Miche. And Clark County prosecutors also noted Kirkland has a pending case for a 2017 homicide in Arkansas. Kirkland would leave jail mad at Miche and putting all of the blame on her for him being locked up. After Kirkland's release on March 8 for assaulting and shooting at Miche, she and her 8-year-old daughter would go missing just 3 days later. Miche's mother would report her and Layla missing after she can't reach them for their regular video chat session, and no one, not even close friends, had heard from or seen her daughter or granddaughter in the preceding week. A friend of Miche said that Miche, her daughter, and Kirkland had visited her house 3 days after Kirkland was released from jail. At some point throughout the evening, she stated that Kirkland departed her home, which is approximately a half-mile from Miche's apartment. The friend reported that Miche left the home about 5 in the morning on March 12 and said she was going out to make some money. Kirkland arrived back at the residence at 8 a.m. while blasting music from his Dodge Charger. When she went to yell at Kirkland to turn the music down, she observed Miche passed out in the passenger seat, unclothed from the waist down. She stated that Kirkland came inside the home and retrieved Melendez's 8-year-old daughter Layla. He then placed her into the car and drove away. On March 17, a court in Arkansas ordered Kirkland's bond to be revoked and issued a fugitive warrant for his arrest in connection with his murder case from 2017. After receiving reports from Miche's family members that they hadn't heard from her or her daughter since March 11, the Vancouver Police Department carried out a welfare check on Miche and her daughter at approximately 2:15 p.m. The officers discovered that there was no one inside other than the dog. Miche's mother located her daughter's vehicle, a Chrysler 200, close to the friend's home, and the police took it away to examine it for evidence. After Miche and her daughter went missing, investigators went back to listen to the phone calls Kirkland made from jail and discovered that he was calling Miche while he had a no-contact order issued. When they listened to the nature of the calls in which he was blaming her for his arrest, officers went ahead to arrest Kirkland on suspicion of tampering with a witness, unauthorized possession of a firearm, and violating a no-contact order with Miche. Detectives executed a search warrant at Kirkland's residence. They reportedly found a gun when they searched his residence. They impounded his car and collected a DNA sample. They discovered 2 phones in Kirkland's possession. One of them belonged to Miche. By 11 p.m. on Sunday, the Vancouver Police Department made an appeal to the general public for assistance in locating Miche and her daughter.
A plea for information about Miche Melendez and Layla Stewart. The Vancouver mother and daughter have been missing for more than a week. Family is beyond concern.
It's been since last Sunday since anybody heard, seen, or talked to my daughter and granddaughter.
I'm missing a whole part of me. It's my sister and that's my niece. We don't know where they're at.
Miche and Layla were last seen on March 12th near Northeast 77th Avenue and Vancouver Mall Drive. According to court documents, a friend saw the two with Miche's boyfriend, Kirkland Warren. The friend says Miche was unconscious and naked from the waist down.
There was a restraining order against him, a protective order for him to stay away from her.
It all stems from an incident back in December. Warren's accused of shooting up Miché's apartment on Northeast 66th Avenue. Police arrested him, and despite scoring high on a danger assessment, partly because of a pending murder case in Arkansas, Warren bailed out of jail. He did so without an electronic monitoring device, which is recommended for suspects in domestic violence cases.
He's obviously has some issues, and why would we want that kind of a person out on the street?
Regardless, Warren was arrested again and in court Tuesday, where a judge set bail at $1 million and ordered GPS monitoring should Warren bail out again. This is for violating parole and contacting Miché after the alleged shooting and right before her and her daughter's disappearance.
Does the family think he's involved in this?
Completely.
But Warren is allegedly refusing to talk to authorities about Miché Melendez and Layla Stewart, a mother and daughter who've been missing for far too long.
Family and friends were hoping and praying that Miché and her daughter would be found alive, but soon a devastating conclusion that no one wanted to hear would be announced. Clark County Sheriff's Office responded to a call from a guy who was walking his dog at the intersection of Southeast Wooding Road and Sunset View Drive, in a remote location to the east of Washougal. He reported spotting what he thought were two life-sized mannequins down an embankment in thick brush off of Southeast Wooding Road. When deputies arrived, they discovered Miché and her daughter Layla deceased.
They're human. They mattered.
Good evening, and we begin with shock and grief rippling through Clark County and beyond tonight after investigators today discovered the bodies of 27-year-old Miché Melendez and her daughter, 7-year-old Layla Stewart. Vancouver police saying they identified them based on unique genetic markings. Thanks for joining us. It is heartbreaking news on this Wednesday night for a family that had been hoping against hope for the last 10 days their loved ones would come home safe, with attention tonight once again turning to Miché's boyfriend. We'll have more on him in just a moment, but first, our Alma McCarty filed this update earlier tonight from the scene in Washougal.
On Wednesday morning, the Clark County Sheriff's Office got a call from someone who was walking on this rural road in Washougal. The caller described what they believed to be two life-sized mannequins down an embankment near a creek. But when deputies arrived on scene, they discovered two bodies. Investigators contacted Vancouver police, who determined this was likely Miché Melendez and Layla Stewart.
This is probably our missing mother and daughter. The Major Crimes Unit from the Sheriff's Office is kind of handling the investigation as a homicide investigation, so detectives and crime scene folks are up there.
A Washington State Patrol forensics team joined the investigation, collecting evidence and speaking with neighbors on Southeast Wooding Road, which was roped off for hours.
The medical examiner's office will obviously be the final confirmation for anybody's identity like that, but wanting to be able to kind of provide that update and that information versus just having people wonder.
The 27-year-old and her 7-year-old daughter were missing for more than a week, last seen near Northeast Vancouver Mall Drive and 77th Avenue. Miché's boyfriend, Kirkland Warren, is officially a person of interest in their disappearance. He was arrested earlier this month, accused of domestic violence against Miché. Warren appeared in court Wednesday morning, though his hearing was connected to a murder he's accused of committing in Arkansas.
Their cause of death has not been released. Family and friends were upset at the discovery of the bodies of Miché and Layla. They felt the system did not do enough to protect Miché when she was clearly crying out for help.
I honestly feel like they're failing my friend, with him letting him being out. He already committed one murder, comes to a whole nother state and commits two more. And there was a baby. I don't feel like they did enough. There was no Amber Alert out for Layla. There was no nothing. We searched on ourselves. They didn't even find them on their own. A bystander did.
I hope that now Clark County can understand that domestic violence, when you say you're going to put somebody on an ankle monitor because someone's life is in danger, you should do it. Because had he got a monitor, they would know. He wouldn't even, I don't think he would have took it as far as he took it.
Friends of Melendez tell me moving forward, they want fast action, accountability, and stricter legislation around domestic violence so that this never happens to anyone again.
Many have questions as to why Kirkland was not fitted with a GPS monitoring device, since he was a known domestic violence offender. This would have alerted Mishay when he was close by her, and these GPS monitors are specifically used in cases like hers to keep victims safe from their abusers. Currently, Kirkland has not been charged with the murder of Layla and Mishay, even though Kirkland assaulted Mishay, shot up her apartment, and violated a domestic violence protection order in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. This case is still ongoing. What happened to Mishay and Layla is beyond tragic. They should have been protected. Mishay did the right thing by reporting her abuse to authorities and getting Kirkland arrested. Sadly, he was let right back out without any GPS monitoring, so she had to live in fear. Not knowing where he was and when he would show up to follow through on his threats must have been terrifying for her. My condolences to their friends and family. I'm sorry you had to go through this, and I hope you get justice. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.